right, greetings everybody. Thank you so much for having me here. Thank you, Don and Gino. What an amazing group of speakers. I've already learned so much being a part of Momentum Builder. It's truly an honor, and I'm just grateful. So guys, my name is Craig Davis. I'm here to talk to you today about choosing mindset, right? Why does it matter? Well, let me tell you out there, it's a rough world, right? The cards are kind of stacked against us. Or are they? Maybe perceivably, right? But mindset is our greatest asset. It's in our control. It shapes our outcomes. It helps us navigate that world. I made a conscious choice that mindset matters a few years ago, and it made a distinct impact on my life. So I want to share that. I want to share those tools and tactics that helped me. And that's how Street Level Leadership was born. It's just a place to curate this information, share some leadership philosophies, and help us all. So as we go through this presentation, I'm going to talk about some books and TED Talks. I'm going to have all that content on Street Level Leadership, so let's have a little bit of fun. So as we go, here's a little game for you. How many times do I say the word mindset? What's the over-under there? Let's see how that goes. All right. So I was about 15 years old. I was hanging out at a lake with a couple buddies, right? And this is the story about the first time I scared myself on purpose. So there's a big jumping rock on the other side of the lake. So my buddies and I hike around the lake to go to the rock, right? So we climb up to the rock, we get to the top, and there's an audience up there, right? So my buddies are fired up, I'm fired up. Well, I'm kind of faking it, but right, go with me. So my buddies jump off the rock, 1, 2, and you just see them disappear on this side of the rock. So now it's my turn. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna jump off this rock into that water. So I'm kind of firing myself up. I've got everything going on in my head, so I kind of walk up to the end of the rock and I look over, and it's about a 30-foot jump. And if you've ever looked over a 30-foot anything, especially something you're going to hurl yourself off of on purpose, it looks a whole lot further. And I'm pretty sure that rock right there, if I land on that, I'm going to die. But the humiliation of not jumping is far worse. So this is going to happen. All right, so here we go, firing myself up, and there's people over there, and I'm pretty sure they're college kids over there, and that girl's wearing a bikini, so the stakes are very high. Okay, so come on, Davis, come on. Here, you know the self-talk, and okay, get through the fear. Okay, come on. Anyway, long or the short of it, I finally get myself to the point of action. 3, 2, 1. Jump off the rock, roll up the windows, land in the water, smack, come up for air. Whew! I did it. It was like the greatest moment. So what happened right there? Action was the easy part. It was just taking a step. Gravity took care of the rest. The hard part, what was going on up here, that was the hard part. So why does mindset matter? So mindset is the lens we look through. Like I said, it's our greatest asset. It's what shapes our outcomes. It's how we navigate our world. So let's break it down. It starts with awareness. What are you mindful of? What are you paying attention to? Is it on purpose? What's coming on inside, right? What's getting in there? Mindset is then how we interpret that information, how we interpret our world. Are we in control of that? What comes out is attitude. That's how we interact with our world. Mindset is the one thing that's in control. If you want to be more mindful, be more aware, you start with mindset. I want to pay attention to this. I'm looking for that information. If you want to improve your attitude, start with mindset. Here's the simple formula. Attitude plus action equals you. It's that simple. That's how the world sees you. That's how the world perceives you. That's how you interact with the world. Attitude plus action equals you. All right, so that sounds pretty easy, right? Well, here's what we're up against. We have a massive amount of information coming at us at all times, about 105,000 words per day, 23 words per second or so, right? And that's just when we're awake. Now, couple that with all the media, all the videos, all the pictures, all that information. It's about 34 gigabytes a day or so just coming at our brain. So let's look at the news outlets, right? It is, if it bleeds, it reads. They're out for your attention. They're selling headlines, lots of opinions, rinse and repeat, and it's everywhere. It's hard not to get sucked in. I get it. Let's think about social media, right? Well, social media was designed like a reward system. It's designed to capture your attention. So every time that like, that share, that retweet, it's creating that little dopamine punch right into your brain. So there's a Harvard study on this. And that dopamine push, it creates an addiction. It's like an alcohol addiction. It's like a cocaine addiction. So now what's that doing to us? So in our normal interactions with each other, we talk about ourselves about 30 to 40% of the time. On social media, we're putting ourselves out there about 80% of the time. So what's that doing when that reward system and that dopamine push is triggering us? It creates that appetite. I need more. I need that feedback. What's that doing to our subconscious? What's that doing to our kids as they're starting to get on there? How is that wiring their brain? What happens if we're not getting it? What's that doing to our subconscious? Are we in control of that? So here's what it's doing. It's leaving a sugar trail for these ants to be crawling around our brains, right? Ants, automatic negative thoughts. Why are we letting that happen? What stories is our brain telling us? Are we listening? Is it true? So Jay Shetty, he talks about the monkey mind. So we've got a monkey in our brain, and he's jumping from branch to branch to branch. We're leaving this trail of bananas for this monkey to chase. So again, what stories is our brain telling us? Is it true? Why are we paying attention to that? This is why mindset matters. So here's the first step. The first step in choosing mindset is making a conscious choice. You have to make a conscious choice to choose mindset. And if you do that, and you put a few of these practices in place, your subconscious will follow. All right, so here's how I break this down. Let's start with, we have to create mindset, we've got to protect mindset, and we got to recover when we get knocked down. All right, so creating mindset, think of it like this. It's time to go on offense. Got to get my head right, it's time to go on offense. So let's look at a couple fundamentals and a couple tactics. So, Dr. Carol Dweck, she's a Stanford professor, and she wrote an amazing book. In fact, if there's one book you pull out of this presentation, read this book. And if you can guess the title, Mindset. It's an incredible book. Her thesis is the fixed mindset versus the growth mindset. So the fixed mindset is someone that's, operating from scarcity. They're maybe waiting to talk, make their point, win the argument. They believe their intelligence, their intelligence, their abilities, their talents are fixed traits. They're born that way. It's win or lose. Now, someone with a growth mindset, well, they believe their abilities can be developed. They operate from abundance. They're listening to learn, pay attention. So let's look at two top athletes, John McEnroe, Michael Jordan. Both number one athletes, both champions. Well, John McEnroe was more of a fixed mindset, right? When he became a champion, when he was number one, well, he sort of fell from there. And if he lost a point, well, he started lashing out, right? He'd lash out at the refs or his trainer or his coach or his racket wasn't strung like, whatever the case was, it was always somebody else's fault. Then you take a Michael Jordan, he's a true champion. When he was told he wasn't big enough or strong enough, he was in the gym working out harder. When he lost or missed that shot, he was back on the practice court right then. He rose the level of his team. He pursued being a champion. How about own it? So if you don't know who this man is, definitely dig in. Jocko Willink, he's a former Navy SEAL. He's now a thought leader. He's written some amazing books, Extreme Ownership being one of them, Dichotomy of Leadership being another one. His central tenet is own it. And I'm here to tell you, and when I brought this on myself, it is extremely liberating to just say, I own it. I got it, right? Even if it's somebody else's fault, say this, my fault, I got it. And a couple things are going to happen. One, you're going to feel better because you're now owning the outcome. And number two, as a leader, your team, they're going to hear you do that. They're going to respect that. They're going to follow you. And here's what's more important. They are going to start saying, I own it. Hey, this came up, Craig. I own it. I got it. Great. How can I help you? Right? Own the outcome. Just say that. I own it. It's very important. All right. Let's look at a couple tactics. So Peter Diamandis is another guy you should really check out. He talks about neural nets. So we cast our net out in the world and then we grab information and bring it in. Are we paying attention to that? What are we allowing in? Because if that net's being cast out there, well, and if it's grabbing a bunch of negative content, well, our outlook's going to be negative. We don't know any difference. So how tight is that net? And do we want to grab that net around good, healthy nutrition? I want to feed my brain healthy nutrition. So I started doing that. I call that brain food. So years ago, it was when I got a really big promotion at work. The type of promotion that was kind of like going from the minors to the majors. I moved my family to another state for that role. Once I got into it, the honeymoon quickly faded, and now the pressure was on, the responsibility, the stress. All eyes were on me. And I felt it. It was overwhelming. And I had to get my mind right. There's no way I could fail this because I have a responsibility. I have a responsibility to myself, the team I lead, my friends, my family, my bosses. I have a responsibility to keep my head right. So a good friend of mine recommended a podcast, Tom Bilyeu, Impact Theory. Check that one out as well. I listened to one podcast and it triggered something in me. It created this insatiable appetite. I need more. I want more. I have to consume more of that content because what it did is it helped articulate my thoughts. It helped get my mind right. And what it also did is it actually got me starting to exercise more because, well, shoot, I could go for a run and listen to another podcast. So I started running. And then I consumed everything I could. Audible books, podcasts, TED Talks, all that good stuff, masterclass, brain food. I'll give you a perspective shift. This is what mindset does. So I come home from work, and at the time I was living in the Bay Area. So as I'm living in the Bay Area, obviously there's traffic. So, okay, you come home from work, you've had a long day, traffic, here we go again, right? And then by the time you get home, you're kind of beat down. Or as soon as I started listening to my brain food, then all of a sudden traffic was something I looked forward to. Oh, great, I have another 20 minutes. I can finish this podcast or start a new one. It was a complete perspective shift. It changed my outlook. That was the lens I looked through. It mattered. Here's something else. As I was a new leader, and as I was leading a new team that I was building culturally and everything else, I started using brain food as a way to coach with that. So instead of our normal managers meetings that, you have to do your housekeeping stuff, I started breaking it up. First half was housekeeping, still got to get that done. But the second half was brain food. So I had to sign a podcast, and every week we'd all watch the podcast, then we'd come back and talk about it at the next managers meeting. And what that did is that started aligning my management team with me and myself with them. And it aligned us as a management team, as a leadership team with mindset. It aligned our values. And then they started sharing in return. It was the best thing I did as a leader. So lead with brain food. All right, how about your village, right? Everyone, well, hopefully you've heard of the Dunbar number, right? So Dunbar's number says you can have about 150 meaningful relationships. Are you choosing who's in your village? So I get you can't choose all 150, no problem, right? But we can make some choices in there. But this is what I would argue. I would argue that you can choose who's in your inner circle. Who's in your council, right? Jim Rohn said that you're the average of the 5 people around you. Are you choosing who they are? Are you choosing people that value mindset? People you can be vulnerable with? People that you can go to with a challenge, that fill your energy, not steal it. So choose wisely. And plus, if you're gonna get lost in Vegas, you need your inner circle to come find you. So, all right, creating mindset. Creating mindset is about going on offense. Now protecting mindset is about going on defense. Paul Bryant said, defense wins championships. All right, so if creating mindset was about offense, what we were really doing was we were getting these magnets to our compass aligned. So how strong and where's your compass pointed and how strong is it? The more that we practice those tactics in creating mindset, the stronger those magnets are to keep our compass aligned. And what this is doing and why this matters, it's gonna make our lives easier. We can start navigating our world without always having to start and stop and figure things out, right? So I look at protecting mindset in sort of 3 areas. What are your rules? What are your rhythms? And what's your balance? All right, so what are your rules? What are your rules of the game? I'll give you a hint. You have them. They're your isms. What's those things that I always say this? They're your core values. So it's going to help you navigate when you come to these situations. So as a leader, when I have initiatives I need to push, I put it into projects, right? So everything becomes project management. And I set rules once we start that project. So I have my team together and whatever that initiative is, okay guys, here's the rule, right? So we're here to solve for simple. And the pathway to simplicity is immensely complex. I set that rule up front, I set that expectation, and I repeat it many times through that initiative. What I'm doing here is I'm giving everyone permission that this is gonna be hard. This is gonna get difficult. We have the permission to say, okay, we need to figure this out, but you don't have the permission to give up. You have permission to get up and take a walk, okay, let's sleep on it. But you don't have a permission to be cynical, right? So we're gonna lean in when it gets hard. We're gonna lean in when it gets complicated. And if we do that, the outcome is gonna be the right solution. So that's important. And look, no bad ideas, even though some are. That's another one of the isms. Because I want those bad ideas. I want you expressing yourself. It's important. Because that one bad idea is likely going to spark some curiosity or some creativity about maybe another good idea somewhere else that we're not thinking of. That's why we have our rules. And what those rules then can lead to is you sort of have your routines and rhythms. What's your balance? What's your proactive versus your reactive? So Jocko Willink, he talks about disciplines. Discipline equals freedom. And these are important. So, what's your morning routine? Do you have scheduled appointments or scheduled meetings? Do you have accountability markers? And these are those things. But really what it is are you paying attention? Are you putting your routines and rhythms in place to allow you to navigate your world easier? And easy doesn't mean that you're not putting the work in. Easy means you have put the work in, you're on your toes, you're in control. That's why mindset matters. That's why these tactics matter. And what routines and rhythms will also allow you to do is create habits. So a few years ago, I went for a run, came back, and my back seized up. I'm laid up on the couch, I'm in pain all night. It was horrible. And the thing I was most upset about wasn't that my back hurt. It was the fact that there was no way I'm gonna be that guy. I'm too young, I'm not gonna live a life with back pain. There's no way. I need to start stretching. Here's the problem. I've been saying I need to start stretching for years, and I haven't been able to do it. Oh, when I wake up in the morning, I'll just start stretching. Couldn't do it. Well, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your habits. So this is an incredible book, Read Atomic Habits by James Clear. So I learned about habit stacking. So if I want to start a habit, I'm going to stack it against an existing habit. So if I want to stretch in the morning, I'm going to stack that on top of brushing my teeth. So I wake up in the morning, drink my water, floss my teeth, floss, brush my teeth, and then I stretch. Now I stretch every morning. And if I'm going to stretch, might as well make the bed, make the wife happy, all good. Then I get a cup of coffee. Coffee is the reward. I don't drink coffee before I brush my teeth. I don't drink coffee before I stretch. It works. So now I can go for a run, no problem, back doesn't hurt, and added bonus, I can get up and out of a chair without the old man groan, so win-win, right? All right, so we talked about our rules, we talked about our rhythms. Now, how's your balance? So how's your mind, body, and soul? So as cliche as that sounds, it works. How's your mind, body, and soul? How's your balance? So we talked about creating mindset as offense, protecting mindset is defense. So brain food is bringing the good stuff in. Our neural nets are grabbing all the good stuff. But how tight is that net? Are we allowing junk food in? And look, a little chocolate cake every now and then, it's great, but you can't live off of it, right? So protect against the junk food. Maybe limit or control those social media plunges. Turn down the news, especially the local news. My gosh, it's awful. I can't have the local news on in my house. I can't have my daughter overhearing that. It's kind of crazy. What I suggest is subscribe to morningbrew.com. It's a morning newsletter. Here's your headlines, little sprinkle of sarcasm and wit. Perfect, you're in the know. It works. All right, so we talked about your village. Choose who's in your village, but also choose who is not in your village. Because you let that bad influence in there and something like that could happen. So don't allow those people that are energy thieves into your inner circle. Control that. Protect yourself. You have that control. And look, we have chemistry amongst each other. There is kryptonite between people, so don't let them in. But also ask yourself your question, why are you giving them that power? Think about that. All right, so you're protecting yourself. Well, now something happens, you see red, you got that guttural reaction. Don't react. Get some oxygen. Take a walk. Take a breath. Just stand up for a second. Oxygen is very important. So I climbed Mount Rainier, and before we got going on that, I had to go to climbing school. So we learned all the skills that were going to get us up the mountain. The rope skills, self-arrest, using our ice pick, how to walk with crampons, especially downhill. And so those are the skills that were going to get us up the mountain. But then we also learned the techniques that were going to get us to the summit. One of those techniques was a breathing technique. It's called the rescue breath. I was skeptical at first. How could taking a breath get me to the summit? Oh, it can, and it did. So that's me in the front of the pack right there, and pretty much looks like I need a rescue breath. So what you do is you take a fast inhale in and a hard exhale out. And it wakes you up. It's a little jolt of energy, but what it's doing, it's opening up those capillaries. It's getting that oxygen in the blood, in the lungs. It works. There's a physical reaction to that, but there's also a mental. So when you're at that 12,000, 13,000, 14,000 foot altitude, and it's just one laborious step after another, that rescue breath was as much about breaking up the monotony. Sometimes it's just something to do as the actual oxygen helping you. It worked. It mattered. So here's something else. Try this. It's called box breathing. You're nervous. Your heart's fluttering. You got a little panic. You got a little something. You got that bug in the stomach. Whatever it is. Try something called box breathing. 4 seconds in, hold it for 4, exhale for 4, and then repeat. Try box breathing. That'll help center you. Centers your center of gravity, right? Brings a little clarity in there, a little bit of oxygen. It works. It helps. So try that. And look, we can't have a mindset presentation if we're not going to talk about meditation. But here's what I would say. What are your meditative moments? What are those little moments that just has that quick little inspiration, that quick little, oh, I feel better. Sometimes it's purposeful, right? Sit back in a chair, roll your shoulders back, take that deep breath, and just have that couple seconds of just silence. It works, it matters. So what I encourage you to do is seek that out. Take a walk. Enjoy the birds out in the garden, whatever that is. Find those meditative moments. And if you are curious about meditation, as I was, read a book called Meditation for Fidgety People by Dan Harris. And I'm very fidgety. You can see me with my hands. I'm all over the place. But I tried that. I read that book, especially during a time of high stress. I read the book because I had to get my mind right. So by the time I came home from work, I would meditate. It was always 12 minutes because 13 minutes was too long. And it helped. I had that feeling of serenity afterwards. So check that out if you're curious, Meditation for Fidgety People. And connect. What do you connect with? What inspires you? What puts you back in balance? For many people, it's religion. For others, it's not. What do you connect with? What fills your energy? What fills your soul? Seek that out. What are those meditative moments? It matters. It'll help keep your mind right. All right. So now we're living in this blissful land of mindset. All is good, and that's just when you get knocked down. So now we got to recover. Because it's not about getting knocked down. It's about getting up. But I want you to pay attention. Why? Why did you get knocked down? Was it a haymaker? Did you see it coming? Or was it just a relentless round of jabs to the ribs? And you finally couldn't take any more, it knocks you down. Then you get back up and it knocks you down again. So pay attention. But look, it is okay to have a bad day. It is okay. It is okay to be upset. But again, pay attention. Why? Why are you upset? Why are you having a bad day? What did you let happen? Or was not in your control? Was it a haymaker? Was it a relentless jabs to the ribs? And here's what's important. How often are you having bad days? Look, a bad day every now and then, that happens to all of us, right? We're human. But are you having a lot of bad days? Is every day a bad day? If you feel like you're having a lot of bad days, I think this is a presentation for you. Focus on mindset first. All right. What I find is typically it's more the jabs. It's that relentless jabs of the ribs, right? Your mind is in a knot. You're stressed. You're overwhelmed. You're buried. Every little thing is a big thing. Well, our brain is in a knot. Our bucket is full. One drop in means another drop out. So what do? How do we come out of that? So I say, and this is the tactic I use, I call it compartmentalize and then prioritize. Literally, take your pen and your paper or your whiteboard. Write down every one of those stressors and dig deep. Be honest with yourself. Write down those stressors. What's bugging you? Pay attention. Now, what you might find is there may not be as many as you think, or you might be curious, well, why is that little thing bothering me? But pay attention to it. It matters. So anyway, you write everything down, then categorize. This is important. So categorize all your stressors into boxes, right? And draw a box around it. You have to draw the box because here's what you just did. You just compartmentalized these varying stressors. And now you're separating them from each other. Now you got oxygen in between that knot. Your knot is going to start to untangle. You're going to start seeing it a little bit more clearly. And when I do this, when I'm in these moments, as soon as I create those compartments, I can see again. Okay, I have vision now. All right, I know where to go. So after you compartmentalize, now you prioritize. Like I said, as a leader, I go into project management mode. So I take each one of those compartments and I just figure out, all right, now it's prioritized. What do I need to get done, by when, who's my team, what resources do I need, and so on. So try that out as a tactic. Conflict can knock us down. But let's define conflict real quick. In its most simplest form, it's just a difference of opinion. That's all it is. But how are we handling it? How is the other person handling it? How are we responding to that? And first, embrace good conflict. Good conflict will move us forward. We want that. But look, not all conflict goes that way. I get it. Sometimes things get heated up, whatever the case is. So I'm going to take a page out of my then kindergartner. My daughter comes home one day, Sydney, and she's like, Daddy, 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 I learned how to cross the street today. It's like, no way. How? Tell me, because I'd probably been doing it wrong this whole time. So she's like, well, okay, you have to stop, look, and listen. And in the most cute, innocent kindergartner voice, it was so perfect. And being the mindset business geek that I am, I immediately took that as a metaphorical lesson for conflict management. And there's truth, right? Crossing the street, conflict management. But let's break that down. Stop, just stop. You're in the heat of it, just stop. All right, now look. Take an outside-in perspective of what's going on. Look at your audience. Try to understand where they're coming from. Are you guys even aligned on what the actual goal is? So just pay attention, understand your audience, and then shut up and listen. You just got to sometimes just shut up and listen. In fact, you probably should start with that. So if someone is in that emotional, tired, or whatever that conflict situation is, try even doing this. Shut up and listen to the point of awkward silence. You'll have a little fun here, because one of two things is going to happen. Either one, they're going to run themselves out, and they're going to start hearing themselves, and they'll just start apologizing, so you've de-escalated. Or they're going to run themselves out, and they're going to go awkward silence, and they're going to say, well, aren't you going to say anything? Like, I think I'm just here to listen, but I'll get back to you. It is okay to get back to someone. De-escalate the situation. And look, guys, in the end, sometimes you just got to say, fuck it. You just got to roll with it. It's okay. Care less. Some people just care too much about too many things too often. So forgive. Forgive yourself. Forgive others. Understand. Pay attention. Stop and be grateful. I'd love to tell you that I got a gratitude journal by my bedside and I fill it out every morning. I don't. I'm not that good. But in high stress times, especially, I stop and I'm grateful. If I'm upset at work, I'm grateful that I have a great job to be upset with. It's natural. We're human. Stop and be grateful. So do something. Be funny. Be silly. Have fun. My wife and I started listening to a little bit of stand-up comedy before we go to bed on Netflix. Try listening to a little Kevin Hart before you go to sleep. See what that does to your mindset. It's awesome. It's great. Do something for yourself. Do something for others. And in the end, sometimes you just got to enjoy some ice cream, especially with someone you love. Everyone, choosing mindset is a conscious choice. Your mindset is your greatest asset. It shapes your outcomes. It's the lens you look through. And you have a responsibility. You have a responsibility to yourself and those around you. So choose wisely. I'm wishing all of you health, happiness, success. My name's Craig Davis. Go forth and succeed.
Hey, yeah, buddy.
If you're doing that because you just saw me doing the presentation, or if you just saw me doing that before I got live here.
Oh, you did too?
Yeah, I didn't know you did that before you went
We're
live.
on the same page, buddy.
We needed one of those breaths just to keep pushing through, man.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're coming on the backside of the day in 4 days. You know, we just had to, right?
It works.
It actually does work. Feels good.
Yeah. And we're all pumped up, ready to go for you. We want to be on, you know, top
Game
notch
on.
for you. Game on for our buddy Craig. Nicely done, bud.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you guys so much, and I appreciate the opportunity and your guys' support always, right? I mean, you guys have been behind a lot of this and helping me through this. I mean, Gino, like you were talking about earlier, it's a mentor relationship, and that's unique, right? I mean, we have to seek that out, and I think if we pay attention to that, we have more of that in our lives, and that's a lot of what this presentation is really about, and what I try to do, right? Pay attention.
Well, and I hope many of you out there do the same thing, because that mentor, one of the best things I said that came out of this for Gino and I is the amazing amount of speakers produced, not sponsors, the speakers, speakers, coaches, authors, and so forth that now we're aligned with, that are changing our lives. Like, we have communication going back and forth and sharing, like you think these guys, I wrote the book, but we're sharing information back and forth and strategies and books. And Matt's in here and he's helped us with American Dream TV. We shared 3 different books just while we're sitting here about, have you used this, and this book, if you I got the next book that Jocko did, and so forth. And it's important.
Yeah, I posted in the chat room, Craig, the Street Level Leadership website, hoping that people go to your library.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what it is, right? It's just a curation content. If it helps me, I feel like it'll help other people. The bookshelf is on there. You guys can check that out. And I think, when I think about the village, right, I was talking about our inner circle and your village. I mean, what I have realized in that is those that are in my inner circle are those that value this type of content, that like sharing a book they just read, value that podcast, right? And that's an engaging conversation. And especially as we work together, I mean, those are the conversations that I think lead and drive our relationship, not so much the business management. Those are byproducts, right? We're leading together, and that's what fulfills my day, right? So
I'm going to challenge a new thing. So you talked about habit stacking, and I'm going to challenge you to speaker stack, because if you take Craig's presentation, you can find little pieces that were dropped all the way along the way leading up to your presentation that bring all of that together.
Yeah, how stoked were you when you're watching all these different speakers saying a lot of the same stuff that you're like, that's in my speech, that's in my speech, that's in my speech.
Super cool.
I'm talking about that, I'm bringing that up. Yep, but it aligns. We've said that since the beginning, that this was strategically laid out with certain specific speakers to hit on different aspects of our lives and stuff, because it's not one-dimensional. It's definitely not, I just need brain food or mindset food, but it's everything, your personal and professional lives. And that's what's nice in your mindset piece that you put together. You broke it up in different pieces for us to, it's easier to digest than
I was going to use the same word.
Digest?
Yeah, digest. Okay. So, the one that I'm a little kooky on here is the automatic negative thoughts. Yeah. And the reason I thought that was interesting is, who doesn't have negative thoughts? I mean, that just negative thoughts happen. It's just a reality. But then I was thinking, if I tie that to Trevor's presentation, and I'm like, okay, as long as I don't say them out loud, it's okay to have the negative thought.
Yeah,
well, it just makes them worse.
I love that. Yeah, and then the neutral thinking, I mean, I haven't read Trevor's book yet, but it's now in the queue. And I love that neutral thinking, because sometimes I think we're sort of like led to believe you're the positive or you're negative, and that's not always the case, right? The answer is down the middle. So yeah, I mean, I think, and it's valuable, right? I mean, we think logically, but we act emotionally, and
not in our business.
Yeah, right. So, I think those that, know how to walk that line and kind of control that, see, it's not just greater success, it's better balance, right? I mean, I had an old boss that used to say, hey guys, no bad days. And it was like, yeah, you're right. No bad days, So, I mean, I live a better life with mindset, and that's why it matters so much to me. And that's why, over, I think, my career and how I lead now, it's so prevalent, because it is like our compass, and it does impact not only how I think we carry ourselves, but I think more importantly, it impacts the team around us. And I think our responsibility is to our team, right? Our family, those we work with, our friends and other people, right? So, yeah.
Now, I'll tell you guys, I know for sure Craig is not just talking about this, but he lives this, because at early coronavirus, we had some stressful days in the mortgage industry, and it was pretty don't say no. It was pretty common that I would talk to Craig, and he'd be out for a walk, like a 7-mile walk or something crazy. You're like, this is just the best place for me to be, because I could look around, I could look at birds, I can breathe hard, and I was like, well, you are huffing and puffing in my ear, but okay, I guess that's fine.
That was that one Peloton ride you got me through. Like, you sure you want some of this? Well, yeah, no, I call those sanity hikes. I mean, honestly, like I will try to stack all my Zooms till about 3:00 in the day. And then after 3:00, I'm very fortunate. I've got a 7-mile hike right out my back door. And then I just do the rest of my phone calls or emails or even other Zoom calls on that hike. So I'm very blessed for that.
Well, like Gino said, Craig, what we love and we can attest to because we work with you daily is that you do walk the walk and you're always striving to improve because you go, we've all read a book that totally changed our life. Like, this book's amazing. It's going to change me. You take facets of that book, but then you get another one. You're like, if I can now put those two things together, it makes you a better person, but also a better leader. We're all leaders in one way or another, whether it's for our team, if you have a team underneath, but it could be for your business, could be for your kids. We're all leaders and need these strategies to help us through uncontrollable situations. I mean, we get thrown stuff every single day, so having ways to combat that and handle it better for better balance has been a game changer for us, and I know it has for you.
Yeah, well, so one thing I was talking about, what are your routines and rhythms or what are your rules? Well, so if you're paying attention to this stuff, right, and brain food or the neural nets, I mean, if we're really paying attention to the content we're allowing in and blocking the content we don't want to come in, these create those magnets, help give us direction. So when we come up against whatever life throws at us, work, personal life, whatever that case is, well, you've probably been there before. You know how to handle it. Or now you start having these general principles, these little bite-sized philosophies. That's what street level leadership is, right? I mean, we're all leaders. I believe that to be true, despite our titles. We all have these opportunities to be leaders in our personal life and our work life and act accordingly, right? What's the lens you look through? Are you in control of that? Are you feeding your mind? So whether it be the books or the Audible stuff or the podcast or our conversations, right? That's a predominant part of our just general conversation because we enjoy it and we value it. All that stuff, it gets in there and then it creates that foundation. Like I talked about, it's that lens you look through. And when you can sort of start controlling that lens you look through, which is mindset, it'll have an impact on your life and those around you.
Yeah, we forgot to take the number. Maybe we can get it on
the over on the over under mindset. Steve said you were over what his number was, like within 5 minutes.
I was sort of guessing about 1,500, but actually in watching this presentation again, I think I said it matters more than I actually said mindset. So
I didn't catch that. We'll have to double check on that.
And we bring this up
because
the other thing that has been consistent throughout all 4 days so far, I know it'll be tomorrow, especially since we have Bill Dallas talking and Jesse Itzler about being authentic. I mean,
those guys are
my God,
authentic.
both of them, but so are you. I mean, we work with you on a regular basis, but we all work really hard on our mindset and being better, and it makes our conversations so much better and more productive. When you're in an emotional state, and we all have to deal with this.
But we all get emotional sometimes, and I'm not saying you can't be emotional.
No, it's just how you handle it.
It's just what's your foundation? When you get emotional, how quick will you respond? If he says, like, I don't remember. We sent an email one day, and he's like, "Oh, a little hot today, huh?" I'm like, "Yeah, sorry." You cool down fast if someone calls you out, and you can call someone out if they're your friend, if you trust them, and they're in your circle. Right, and I think sometimes that's all we need is somebody to call you out, and now it's easy. That doesn't sound very neutral?
Yeah. Well, and look, and we need each other, right? This business, real estate, mortgage, life. It is emotionally charged, and I think in our lives now, news outlets. Like I was talking about, there's so much of that information coming in. It's like peaks and valleys. Everything is so extreme sometimes. And, like I was talking about, like, I'm serious, like, care less. Sometimes you just got to care less.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that's not saying, it doesn't matter. It just, you don't have to get so revved up about things, right? And you can deal with it in a neutral manner. But again, it's not so much about the emotional stuff of that. I think we're tying that into this. It's really that if you keep a good mindset, that helps you navigate all this, right? And so, and that's what matters.
Yeah, but you have to have a foundation because your belief system's formed when you're like 3 or 5 or something like that. So in order to change that belief system, it really does take a tremendous amount of effort, a lot of great brain food, and you have to make some conscious decisions about where you want to go and then slowly start to change those habits.
And I have to say, Craig, super proud of you, buddy. This was a great milestone for all of us. We all worked on Momentum Builder. You worked on your speech. You worked really hard on it over and over. And I'm just proud of you because you wanted it to be as impactful as possible. And you did a great job. And you really did. You impact Gino and I often as not just as a manager, a leader, a coach, but as a friend. And we're really proud of you, and you did a great job. I mean, and you do impact our lives every day, and we're very thankful for you, buddy.
Yeah, we had a couple hundred, 200 and some odd people in the chat room. We were having fun in there before we came to the chairs. And they don't always get to work with you or be with you, so that was really cool that they got to see a little Craig.
Thank you. I appreciate it, guys. I mean, the feeling's mutual, you know, I mean, like Donnie Love Buckets, let's make this a love fest. And, you know, I mean, I think we all.
Did you see that?
You know, yeah, I did. Okay, how awesome is that mug, by the way?
Right?
Crazy.
That is killer.
Yeah.
I mean, there, Donnie Love Buckets, and you coined that phrase.
It's one of my best nicknames I've ever created for someone. So, yeah.
Yeah, because not everybody knows the story. I literally put together a bucket full of welcome stuff, thank you stuff, all that stuff in a bucket. And Craig's like, what the hell is that? I'm like, we're sending out buckets of love to some of our branches to make sure they know we're glad they're with us and they can welcome others when they come in. You get one shot of a first impression, and he's like, you're like Donnie Love Buckets, and it's stuck.
So good. So good. So in fact, we have a little bit of fun in the survey tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Fun.
Well, I'm really scared about this. He says, well, if I'm Donnie Love Buckets, what's Gino's nickname? I'm like, well, I don't really have one. And it's like, well, let's get you one. And I'm
I put in the chat in the survey that's coming out. So please fill out the survey, engage. We want to see what you come up with for Gino. I mean, Craig, you and I have all kinds of nicknames for him because we know him.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm not so sure you don't have one. It just, I mean, there might be multiple versions.
So some of them involve him wearing a helmet.
Yeah. Please try to keep it PG-13.
This ought to be interesting.
Oh man.
Hey, thank you for being part of Momentum Builder, being a solid part of us being able to do this, because you had faith in us and support and love and direction and everything. It really helped us take this leap of faith for us, because you knew our goal was to help all of you as best as we can, just like you did today with your wonderful piece on mindset. So well done, buddy. Well done.
Thank you very much. And cheers to you guys. Congratulations. This event has been, I mean, outstanding. I mean, it is completely, you know, gone beyond my expectations. And I'm grateful for you guys, and I'm grateful for all the speakers on here. And I'm just proud to be a part of this. And you know, I think the future for Momentum Builder is very, very bright. And I just hope I can be, you know, a part of it and provide value. So thank you guys.
Thank you, buddy. Music to our ears.
Thank you,
did a
brother.
great job. So thank you, man.
All right.
You bet.
All right.
Later.